Hello. I'm going to warn you at the start. I'm a little sick. I may cough. I may sneeze. I'll try not to be too loud. I'm also going to warn you at the start, as the title says, this time I will be discussing Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker and making specific reference to things that happen. So if you haven't seen it and you don't want to hear about things that happen in it before you've seen them happen, then um, there's another review that I did. It's on YouTube, and I don't say anything specific, so you can still see the movie after you've seen me talk about the movie, but not have anything ruined for you. I'm not going to say much overall. I just want to go over a few things that I particularly liked and a few things that I particularly didn't like, and drive home the idea that this is the episode 9 that we got, and if we wanted an episode 9 as I did, we have to accept it. And so I am going to buy this movie on DVD. I'm going to watch it over and over again and enjoy it, even as I am banging my head against the wall or rolling my eyes at it. Few highlights from reviews that I've listened to that I just wanted to express better than I could what I want to say, sort of things that I want to say. The Force Awakens. J.J. Abrams made The Force Awakens. Rian Johnson yes-anded The Force Awakens, and he built on it. And then J.J. Abrams said, no, but instead. And that is my biggest issue with the movie, that sort of attitude. And I got that metaphor from the Screen Junkies, so thank them from that. And then from Slate, not too insightful, just a fun little play on a commercial that they did. They said maybe she's born with it, maybe she's Palpatine, and it sounded spontaneous when they did it, so that was fun to hear. Things that I liked and things that I didn't like, because there were both, and ultimately it was a positive experience overall. I've had some time to think about it. It was a frustrating movie for the reason that I just mentioned with the no but insteading, but it was fun, and I'm going to continue to enjoy it in the future. The thing that I liked the most, one of the things that I liked the most, involved Luke's Force Ghost when Rey is tossing Luke's lightsaber into a fire that she has started. She has given up on the fight, and much like Luke tossed a lightsaber over his head at the beginning of The Last Jedi, which upset a lot of people, and Luke's Force Ghost catches the lightsaber and says, as so many people said when they saw that scene, a Jedi's lightsaber deserves to be treated with more respect, something to that effect. And I liked that, even though it was a rebuke of what had happened in The Last Jedi on the surface, the Luke Force Ghost character would have been there. That's what he would have said. It worked because of how Luke spent the rest of The Last Jedi. His character was there by the end of The Last Jedi. It just didn't have a chance to do that. So that made sense. It was a nice callback for me. It felt more like a callback than it probably actually was. But since I watched episodes 1 through 8 the weekend before I saw this movie, I saw a through line concerning Force lightning. And so in episode 2, Anakin Skywalker, who becomes Darth Vader, this is going to spoil every Star Wars movie, but everybody knows that, gets struck down by Force lightning, Count Dooku's Force lightning. And that's his first experience with Force lightning that we see, and it's not a good one. In the next movie, he sees the Emperor, or then Chancellor Palpatine, using Force lightning against Mace Windu, who is repelling it with his purple lightsaber, and it comes back at Palpatine, and it causes the scars on his face. So that is Anakin's second experience with the Force lightning. It doesn't look good to him. And I think that's the last Force lightning that I'm aware of in the movies until episode 6, when the Emperor Palpatine is Force lightninging Luke, and Darth Vader's kind of staying back. And from having watched the prequels just then, you can understand Darth Vader is afraid of the Force lightning because of his experience with the Force lightning, but he braves the Force lightning and saves Luke. And so, jump ahead to The Rise of Skywalker, the next instance of Force lightning, I think, concerning a Skywalker, because there's Palpatine uses Force lightning against Yoda, and Yoda's not having it. in Revenge of the Sith, but in The Rise of Skywalker, when Rey and Kylo Ren are arguing over a spaceship with the Force, Rey concentrates so hard that she shoots Force lightning at the ship, and it destroys the ship. And Kylo Ren, just Skywalker, the grandson of Darth Vader, steps back in awe and a little afraid. And so that was a nice payoff for me personally. I don't know if anyone else would have made that connection. Oh, maybe it was intentional. But that's something I really liked. It is connected to something I really didn't like. I mentioned in the non-spoilers how interesting things would happen and then immediately unhappen. And one of those things is Rey destroying that ship, which suggests that Chewbacca has been killed, which is a daring thing to do in a Star Wars movie. But we've seen Luke die, we've seen Han die. Maybe Chewie's not immune. It's an interesting, daring thing to do. It gives the characters a new motivation, and then, oops, Chewie's okay. Another interesting thing that happens and unhappens. There's a spy in the First Order. You can kind of tell who it's going to be, but it's still like one of the only times that I applauded is when General Hux reveals that he's a spy in the First Order, and then you think, oh, this is going to be interesting, and then he dies. C-3PO, in order to translate an important clue, has to be rebooted, which means he will lose his memory. So that it has to be rebooted, so his protocol will go away, so that he is able to translate the clue. And this happens, and I'm like, oh, he's not really dying, but he'll be mentally dead. But then, and he's fun. He's funny. He's for the rest, like meeting everyone for the first time, not knowing what's going on, and he's very funny. And then later in the movie, R2 gives him his entire memory back. So done and undone. Interesting things. And then an interesting thing that didn't happen, followed by an uninteresting thing that did. End of the movie comes around. The hero team, the triumphant team, they are reuniting. They are hugging each other, having a good time, and Poe and Finn reunited on the ground, and the kid behind me yells, "Kiss!" And I'm thinking and hoping the same thing, but of course they don't, because by this time, all of the main characters, nobody really gets together, but all the main characters have been established as straight, even though there's a lot of hoping that Finn and Poe would get together, including on my part, and it really looked like they would, like the way they performed, the way the actors seemed to be suggesting that, and then they don't kiss, but two women in the background kiss, and it's not that I wasn't aware that blockbusters don't, have enough gay characters and real significant gay characters, but seeing that, it clicked for me for the first time that somebody up really high, somebody in charge, the one who's doing the blockbusters, thinks that that's enough, that that's all they have to do for gay audiences. And so it's fine that it happened. Those two characters can be happy together, but the idea that, or the tiny little bit of a gay character in Avengers Endgame, the tiny little bit of a gay character in Beauty and the Beast, all of these from Disney, the idea that somebody thinks that that's enough, as opposed to Poe and Finn, or Han and Lando in the Solo movie, which I was really hoping that when it got close to opening and they hadn't revealed any plot details or released a trailer, I was thinking maybe they're hiding the fact that they went out on a limb and they're going to do something interesting with Han and Lando romantically in this movie, and they didn't. Maybe elsewhere in the Star Wars universe they'll get it, but not in the spine, not in the main through line. So that was fine. It happened. The two women kissing there, but annoying at the same time for all that it doesn't represent. I liked the Emperor. I liked how they brought him back. Played it as hammy as always, and that was fun. He looked like a zombie. So he was always wonderful to look at and to hear. I liked the opening sequence, Kylo Ren plowing through an opposing army of aliens. I liked the final bits of Kylo Ren when he kind of got to be fun and a little jokey, and just not the brooding character that we've seen up to that point. I liked Evil Rey when Rey was grappling with the dark side of the Force, and the red lightsabered, hooded, sharp-toothed evil version of her came out. That was one of my favorite parts as well. I thought that Leia was done very well, especially considering they were using all old footage and old dialogue and incorporating it into the script. It wasn't entirely seamless, but it worked as well as it could have worked, I think. But it also, and the Kylo Ren thing also kind of met at a point that I was a bit too conveniently inconsistent. I don't know if Rey's supposed to be dead toward the end of the movie, or if she's just supposed to be very, very weak and looking dead. But Kylo Ren uses the Force to bring her back to apparent life. And then he dies from the effort, and he disappears, because that's what Jedi do when they die. But she didn't disappear. So if she was dead, why didn't she disappear? And then we are cut back when he disappears to Leia disappearing. She hadn't disappeared yet. She's a Jedi too. And she hadn't disappeared. So why does, I mean, I know why Kylo disappears. I don't know why Rey and Leia didn't disappear, but it's not the most important thing in the world. Let's see. 11 minutes. Didn't like that Rose was so sidelined. I did like the yellow lightsaber. I didn't like that Mace Windu did not make an appearance. I was so sure that, like Yoda and Luke and Obi-Wan before him, he had just been in hiding and he was going to come out and do the thing. I did like seeing Lando again. He was, I mean, he didn't do as much as I mean, he was just kind of there. And he was great. It was great to see him. I thought that Maz Kanata was a waste of Lupita Nyong'o. I mean, you got Lupita Nyong'o, and she's got 2 scenes, essentially, in the trilogy. And she's great. She's great at voices, but she's not 3 feet tall like the character. And she's not nearly old. I mean, nobody's 1,000 years old like Maz Kanata, but cast an older female little person to play that role. And then you don't have to shrink a person who's twice the size. And I mean, that person has probably not had the career that Lupita Nyong'o is destined to have. Give her this role. And I felt the same way about Ron Perlman playing a goblin in the first Fantastic Beasts movie. I'm like, Ron Perlman is at least 3 goblins. And Vern Troyer and Warwick Davis were right there. Or the guy who plays Mickey on Seinfeld, he would have been great. So I think that's my spoiler feelings, and you know, they go both ways, and they add up to, it's a frustrating movie, but I'm going to probably enjoy it for the rest of my life. And ultimately, I would say, if you care about the 9 total Star Wars films, the episodes 1 through 9 that George Lucas originally wanted, this is not exactly what he is. It's probably nowhere near what he originally wanted, and I wish that we had gotten what he originally wanted, but this is what we got. I wanted episodes 7 through 9 since I saw episodes 1 through 3, after having seen episodes 4 through 6. And I got episodes 7 through 9, and I accept them, and I will enjoy all of them, even back to back to back. So I'm going to sign off with that. That's my spoiler thoughts about the movie, as I already said. If you would like to share your thoughts, maybe don't spoil anything, but you can share them in the comments. If you want to respond to something I said in a kind of code, I'll enjoy cracking it. But so that you don't spoil anything for people who haven't seen the movie, who maybe shouldn't be watching the video anyway. Found The Brave Little Toaster in my first excursion to the used book sale at East Rochester. And that is a movie that I haven't seen it in 25 years, but I guarantee that unlike the inconsistencies of The Rise of Skywalker, it's a great, great movie. And I was very happy to find it. Usually I find The Brave Little Toaster on Mars, which is, I guess, kind of Star Wars, but who cares about that one? I wanted the original. and I cannot wait to see it again. So 15 minutes, and yeah, I hope that what I've said makes at least as much sense as Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. Ram the blade ship.